Hi everyone, it's Hatsy and I'm back with another build in The Sims 4. Today we are revisiting the Minion Mansion and we are doing the interior for it. So it's pretty good in a way because I didn't leave it that long in between the interior and doing the build. So that's an achievement because usually I do leave it some time, which I'm trying to stop. I'm trying to just get my interiors sorted. And I did have fun doing this. I tried to do it maybe a little bit differently to my other builds. It's quite basic and a lot of the rooms aren't so filled up because I kind of wanted it to look a little bit like a doll's house, like everything had just been sort of placed there. And I thought that's how he'd actually have his home. It was really difficult to find pictures of the inside and I didn't actually find any. Yeah, I tried for a very long time. It was quite easy to find pictures of the outside of the house, but when it came to the interior, there isn't anything there. And I honestly think that's because it's still in cinemas and there isn't anything to kind of go off. So all this was just from my imagination and like how I'd imagine it to be. But obviously it could have been a lot more accurate if I could have had the photos and maybe rewatch the movie again, but I didn't want to do that because I thought, well, okay, no, I'm just gonna like do this to the best as I can. So it does have 3 floors. It is a bit of a topsy-turvy build as well because the kitchen's actually upstairs, but I didn't want to make a big deal of the kitchen or anything like that because I'd imagined that a lot of people work in this house, like there's a lot of, you know, sort of chefs and things like that. So I think having smaller rooms just kind of kept away is pretty good for that. I remember there being a big corridor, like a big golden corridor, but I couldn't place it in my head. And I did fill up the whole house with these little pigs that I found because I thought that was really cute because it's a pig farm. Is that it? I have no idea, but there's pigs everywhere in the actual mansion. So it would make a lot of sense. Yeah, I'm going to be rewatching the movie though. I think I'll buy it when it comes out on DVD. Really strange. So I have a TV, but I hardly ever watch actual TV. I just really watch movies and Netflix and things. But that might be what a lot of people do nowadays. Maybe it's just sort of the older generation that would prefer to sit down and watch like a soap on the TV. Yeah, soaps don't really interest me. Do you know what the problem is? I used to watch Coronation Street. This is like an English soap. And the problem was it got to the point where every single person on the street had dated every other single person on the street. I think I've spoken about this before. There was this guy on the street and his name was Jason, or I think it still is Jason. That's his character name. He's probably died by now, to be fair, because they do like to kill characters off a lot. However, he dated like every single girl on the street. There was a time when like there'd be a new girl coming to the street and instantly, if they were between the ages of like 20 and 30, it would be, yeah, she's about to date Jason or she's just dated Jason. That would be it. That was what my thoughts would go to just because he dated literally everyone. And yeah, going back to that though, I think that soaps get very predictable for me. So I kind of like watching movies and just different TV series because I feel like there's more suspense there. I think when you have a soap, it gets to the point where events start repeating because you can only do so many things. And that's not the soap's fault or, you know, the people writing it. That is just the fact that so many things happen. It just happens over and over again. You know, it doesn't become the most believable thing. Let's say if a fire happened at a cafe or at the local pub, and then it happens like every single year at Christmas. You know, it kind of gets a bit like, oh, I don't really understand this soap anymore. So that's why I just prefer watching like shorter series or movies. So that was why the Minions was really good. And it's kind of like a little bit of a series because it's in 3 parts now. There's like 3 movies as far as I'm aware. There may even be more, just like separate ones. And I really like it. So I'm hoping for a 4th one. That would be really cool to see the girls maybe like grown up, maybe have their own families, maybe even like expand it more. I don't know. but I think that would be pretty interesting. They could do a lot with it, and I think the good thing about the Minions is the fact that you can kind of grow up with it, like you grow up with the characters. I'm actually really excited for The Incredibles 2, I think. I watched that when I was really young, probably, I'm going to say 11 or 12 I was, probably when that came out, I can't remember. But I remember watching it on TV with my friends and thinking, wow, this is such a cool movie. And yeah, I'm going to go back to the cinema now, like for The Incredibles 2 when that's out. I can't believe it's been like 10 years though. I mean, what was the delay? Because it said at the end of The Incredibles, the first one, to be continued, and it was just really annoying that they never actually continued it until like 10 years later. But hey, there we go. So anyway, on to the build, because this is Despicable Me. So I was trying to do some of these little rooms that I didn't know what to put in, but I thought, well, Gru's brother Drew is supposed to be like really talented, and you know, he's supposed to be like the good brother, the great brother or whatever. So I thought he'd have loads of hobby rooms in his house, like musical rooms, things like that. There's also a lot of gold, so there's like lots of fruit, things like that, like golden fruit. But I did later change a lot of those for just golden pigs, which I thought looked really cute. But something that I really wanted to do was have the sculptures of each family member just running across that corridor, but there's no custom content. Like, I can't imagine that anyone's actually created the custom content for Gru's family. That would be really cool if they did, and I would have put those statues in. But from what I know, there wasn't any. And I wasn't going to spend like absolutely hours and hours just trying to make sculptures and things like that. I mean, I could, to be fair, I could have a go at making custom content. I know how to recolor things, but I don't know how to sculpt. I've got the Sims 4 Studio though, but it's impossible to use. And I often like make things worse than they actually are in the first place. I remember the first time I tried making a custom content hairstyle, it was a nightmare. The woman looked like an octopus because she had like massive sort of strings of hair just coming out in chunks. It was a nightmare. But to be fair, that could work in a way if I was creating Medusa or something. That would be a really good creator sim. I'd love to create Medusa. Anyway, on to the downstairs. This is a secret lair. I was so frustrated at this part because I honestly couldn't remember how the secret lair actually looked. So I had to do this all from memory and I can't remember it. So I tried to create the illusion of the car rising up, but we don't have a gold car. So I had to use that like really weird telescope thing. But that could be a vehicle as well, because I don't know, I thought it looked pretty interesting. So I put that there. And just like loads of gold in the background. I really tried to find a picture of this room, but I couldn't find anything. So yeah, maybe if I do watch the movie and I come back to this build, then I will redo this because it was just frustrating. So if you have recently watched the movie and you remember exactly how this room looks, then don't be afraid to redo it. It is on the gallery as well if you want to go and download the creation, so you can find that. But yeah, if you do, share it with me because I love to see what people do with my builds. I find it so interesting. In fact, I think a while ago, something that really amazed me was somebody turned one of my mansions into like this vampire creepy build, and it was incredible. So this was the second floor. There's a huge overhang, and I've recently got asked like why I create massive overhangs by the stairs and stuff. It's to make it just look really grand, and also for mansions I think that it gives this like really wealthy impression, so that's why there's just a huge sort of thing there. But from memory, again, I can't remember it exactly, but I remember that there was like an overhang. I remember one of the girls sort of looking down at one point down the staircase, so that's why I decided to do that. This was a lounge area in here. This is just supposed to be somewhere that they can sit and they can watch TV, and I did that because we don't have any other lounges in this build, unfortunately. It's all just like random rooms filled with stuff, but that's how I'd actually imagine it. I wouldn't imagine many places to just be sort of sit down, chill out rooms. There was a little bedroom here. This was just like a random room on the side. Again, just placing things very quickly, trying not to overthink things too much. I think that's also quite good for mansions especially if you're trying to create something quite pretentious, like reusing a lot of items may work really nicely because it may look a little bit like a hotel rather than an actual home. And that's what I was going for as well, just like a repeat of items. And it also kind of gives the impression that like you're walking down the same corridor each time. So yeah, that's where like, you know, your Sims would feel lost because every corridor looks the same. I used to have really long corridors in my old house. This was when I lived in England, the last house that I lived in before I moved. And I remember like some of my friends would come to my house and they'd get lost. But how strange is that? Like there was literally 2 corridors. How can you get stuck there? I have no idea. But it was a weird layout. In fact, it was a little bit similar to how this house is laid out. So let me explain. So it had lots of little rooms around the outside of the layout. And then it had a big hallway leading off to lots of little hallways. Yeah, I don't know if I'm explaining that very well, but it was a very safe house because what would happen is, let's say somebody would break in through a window or a door, and then they'd realise, oh, we can't get through to the main house because this door then leads somewhere else and this door's locked. So not only would they have to break into a window or a door on the outside, but they'd have to break into several doors once they get into the house anyway. So yeah, it was safe, and that's how I'd imagine this house to be. Even though it has loads of windows, it would be like a really safe place, which is good. It was very strange though, because I remember one night waking up and there was a massive bang, and I remember that somebody tried to break into my laundry room. So they got into my garden, they opened the window, but then realised that they couldn't get through because the next door along was a fire door. So that was it. Plans spoiled, and they never actually broke in. We didn't have any actual burglaries happen. We had people attempt it. Like we had people trying to break in and stuff, and one time as well, this was a sad day. I think I've spoken about this before. My garden gnome got stolen. And that's pretty unusual because the house that I used to live in had a massive driveway. Like it was a very long driveway, probably one of the longest I've known about, especially in like a town area. You'd expect to see a driveway like that in the countryside somewhere, but no, it was really strange how it was just in a town. It was odd because the people that would have stolen the garden gnome would have had to have walked all the way up the drive to then steal the gnome, to then leave. It was sad. But my parents didn't like the gnome anyway. They got it for a gift. It was like a joke present and they didn't know what to do with it, so they just stuck it outside. And that was it. One day, Gordon, the garden gnome, just disappeared. How sad is that? I wonder what he's doing now. Anyway, this was the girls' bedroom in here. So again, I have a terrible memory. I have like I'm going to say I have a bad photographic memory because I usually remember things in pictures. And sometimes I'll remember like every single detail of something because I imagine it in my head, like exactly how it is. And I used to find it really easy to memorize scripts and stuff like that. I don't know what that's called. Because everybody learns things differently, don't they? I remember at school, we had a lesson on it about how people remember things and how people learn things. I remember when I was learning French as well, trying to learn that in Switzerland. I was trying to write everything in a song format or try and translate English songs that I knew really well into French and then try and say them back to myself. That sometimes works. I think the one way that I don't get how people learn, honestly, but this is just me, again, this is because I learn a different way. But you know when people write things down, oh my goodness, how do people learn like that? I remember being in class and the teacher would say, write this down, and then they'd be talking like whilst people were writing, and I would get so distracted and so confused because I struggle multitasking. That was a nightmare for me, to try and write something down whilst trying to listen to somebody. So they were the lessons that I didn't do particularly well in because I couldn't figure out how to do it. Yeah, what was the point in this? Why was I even talking about this? Oh yeah, it was to do with the girls' bedroom and me decorating that. So finished the room in the end, but I can't remember exactly how it was supposed to look. Anyway, on to one of the last rooms. This was a pig room. So this is a really useless one, honestly. There wasn't any need for me to put this room here, and if you wanted to, you could have like a second kitchen here. That's what I'd imagine, but I just thought it's quirky. It's a minion house. Like, I want to do something crazy. So a pig room, and the pigs are just sort of sat on a pile of gold, which I thought was a really interesting idea. This was a playroom for the girls, so I would have loved this when I was younger. This would have been like a dream room for me because I used to love dolls' houses. I used to have a doll's house. There used to be this shop down the road, and it used to sell this like mini furniture. And it was so expensive. I swear, some of these items were probably more expensive than actual furniture. It was mad. Just how, but I suppose if they're handcrafted and stuff, then I can sort of see why. Anyway though, that is the end of the build. So I really hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see all future ones. Thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you all soon.